The season of gift giving is soon going to be upon us, which means if you have a photographer in your life, you're going to want to buy them something. Or if you're a bit like me and you are the photographer in your life, you're going to look for some stuff to buy for yourself. I've compiled a list of 5 gift ideas I think you should get for the photographer in your life, and a few things you should avoid. So let's just jump in with number 1. So, gift idea number 1 is a camera strap. So you might be thinking, well, why would I get them a camera strap? Their camera came with a strap. They have a strap that they use already. For some reason, photographers will spend €2,000 on a camera body, probably more on a lens, and they just use the basic strap that came with their camera. It's like they can't justify that like €20 purchase, even though there's a few order of magnitudes more there being spent on the camera already. Like, the original strap that you get is fine, right? Some of them even have like a little non-slip coating on the back so they're not sliding all over the place. But here's the thing. They all come with this horrible like method of sticking them onto the camera. I'm sure it has an actual name, but where you feed it through the loop and then back in at the side, and it's just, if you want to swap straps, it's a hassle. And if you do street photography or you're shooting with like an expensive system, maybe advertising that on the back of your camera strap is not a good idea. I think there's a reason incognito and just kind of like generic looking straps have kind of risen in popularity. And the actual strap, I think you should get them, really depends on their style of photography, which I'm hoping you would know if you're going to be buying them a gift. So if they're just shooting walkabout stuff and they pick the camera up to their eye, take the picture, that's it. Something like this leather strap, which my sister got me for my birthday, is ideal because it goes around your neck. You can pick it up to take the shot, camera goes back down. If they're bringing the camera and like down to the ground, up to their face a lot, moving it around, maybe an elastic strap would be ideal for them. Personally, I actually like using a wrist strap because then my camera is always in my hand and it eliminates that little movement that kind of gets in the way of taking photos. But if you're going to be getting them a camera strap, I highly recommend that you make sure you get something like this. I don't know if that's focusing, but it is a clone of the Pink Design mount system. And all that really means is that you have them little plastic things dangling on your camera at both ends if you use a neck strap, and then you can just take your wrist strap, slide it in, and there you go. I can have this exact same thing on my G9 and then just move my wrist strap over rather than having to unloop it and do whatever. Now there's a bunch of other ways. This leather strap just uses like this kind of lanyard style thing. Being able to take the strap on and off is handy even if you only have the one camera body. Sometimes if you're shooting a long exposure on your tripod, the strap can act as like a bit of a kite and catch the wind. So just having it so that you can take that off if needed is handy. And if you have 2 camera bodies, well, it'd be nice to move a really nice strap between the 2 of them. Here's the first gift to avoid. And it's these 52 photography accessories kits that you see on Amazon and AliExpress. Typically these kits are not great, and you end up with a lot of the you end up with this abundance of phone to tripod adapter, and you end up with a little cheap lanyard style wrist strap and a few filters that are always 58mm. And even if there's something in that kit that's useful, it's probably not going to last because it's just really cheaply produced stuff. While I'm saying avoid these, if you think, oh, this kit has a little tiny tripod in it, maybe they'll find the little tiny tripod useful as well as all the other stuff. Maybe take the like 20 to 50 euro you'd spend on this kit and buy them a really nice small tripod from Small Rig or any of the other manufacturers that are kind of reputable. These kits aren't like incredibly bad or whatever, but they are very cheaply made, and if you search photography gifts, they kind of always pop up. So I would just flat out avoid them. Gift idea number 2 is storage, whether that's some SD cards or even some external storage for their computer. The main thing to kind of keep in mind here is to go with a good name. I would recommend buying from SanDisk or maybe Samsung, and I'd make sure you're always buying from an official kind of looking source, right? So like their official shop on Amazon or a good retailer that you trust. As for actual capacities, I find personally for my style of photography that 64 gigabytes is a good sized card. I don't end up just treating it like an extra space to keep all the photos, but at the same time, if I'm gone away for like a few days, I can keep all my photos and even some video on those cards. Some people like having smaller cards, some people like having bigger cards, and The advantage with storage, if the photographer you're buying for already has 10 32GB cards, they'll appreciate having a few extras. So you can't go wrong with buying storage. And on the same note, external storage is really handy. Even if they fully use Lightroom Cloud, being able to back up everything still is great. So getting them an external hard drive or even an external SSD they can use as a Lightroom catalog. It's just great to keep backups of everything, and it's a good peace of mind. I can't think of a single photographer I know that's not always like, oh, I need to buy more hard drives. Oh, I need to buy more SD cards. Second thing to avoid is a lens. Now, you might know what camera system they shoot. So I shoot Micro Four Thirds. This is a Lumix G lens. It will fit on my cameras. Photographers put a lot of thought and effort into choosing a lens. There's often months and months of reading reviews and watching YouTube videos and trying to find out if they really need it. More often than not, they're just convincing themselves that they do. But it's a kind of a personal thing. So even if you know what camera system they shoot, you might not buy them the exact lens they need. And it might be the exact focal length they want. So let's say they want a 25mm prime, and you buy them one. You might not buy the one that's weather sealed, and they might really like to go outside. It's just one of them things that I think a lot of photographers would rather make that choice themselves. So you can be kind of boring and be like, hello photographer, what lens would you like? Or maybe a voucher for B&H, or offer them, I don't know if MPB do vouchers, but just be like, hey, I will get you something to X value on MPB. Or, hey, here's some money to go and put towards your lens. You could even be kind of cute. You could get like a little lens bag and stick the voucher and the money in the lens bag. But I would not actually buy a specific lens unless they've kind of come up to you and be like, hello, I would really like a 100 to 300 for Christmas. Gift idea number 3 is batteries. So even if they're a photographer that shoots in a photography studio tethered to a computer, fully plugged in all the time, batteries are still handy. If they shoot wildlife and go off on safaris and they don't see plugs for 3 days, batteries. So, of course, I can mean literal camera batteries. But I'm actually using this to power my light at the moment, so I can't actually use it as a prop, which is a bit annoying. But an external power bank is brilliant. More and more cameras these days have USB-C on them, or even like the old ones like my G9 have USB-B, and you can charge them through that rather than having to go into the mains, which is great because you can just, if you're sat in the coffee shop for whatever, you can just plug your camera into the power bank, let it fill up, and then you're ready to go. So I'd recommend a decent power bank or a few camera batteries. If you're not sure what batteries to get for their camera, you can just look up the model. And typically, I'd recommend staying to that manufacturer's brand. I'd recommend buying Canon batteries for Canon, Nikon batteries for Nikon, and so on and so on. But there are some trusted third-party ones, but I'd say just go with the name brand stuff. Don't go on to like AliExpress, just look up Lumix G9 and get the first batteries you see. You can read the reviews and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, they're really going to appreciate getting the proper batteries. As for power banks, Anker always seem to make good stuff, but some things to keep in mind with power banks is if they do a lot of travel photography, make sure it's not too big for certain aircrafts. Make sure it's a decent form factor, so mine's like quite big. It's actually about as big as this lens, so I just keep it in my camera bag like I would keep a lens. But don't get the one that's a weird form factor that they're going to have to completely adjust their setup for. Avoid number 3 is kind of in the same vein as the lens. It's a camera bag. I have been on a quest for a while to find myself 2 perfect camera bags. I found one of them. It's this old low pro slingshot. It's my everyday camera bag. I'm going to have a video coming up on it soon on why I chose it and why I think everyone should have an everyday bag. Camera bags are very specific to their needs as well, like a lens. So while you could just be like, hey, I'm going to buy you a camera bag of this value, what do you want? Or give them a voucher. It's still like a very personal thing. Like you could get someone a camera bag that's technically ideal for all their camera gear, but it might not have a water bottle holder. Or you could get one that's like the perfect everyday bag, but they want more of a dedicated camera travel bag. Do you know what I mean? Again, it's just a personal thing that it's much better just for them to get it themselves. Okay. Gift 4 is something that's photography adjacent. This is a bit weird, but it's something they can use while they're out taking photos that isn't directly connected to the camera. Let's say you're buying for someone outdoorsy, they have weather sealed camera gear, and they like to go for really long walks with their camera, and that's that. A nice water bottle would probably be ideal, or even like a water filtering bottle or something like that, so they can drink from streams. if you're buying from someone who, let's say has a photography studio, a few props, or even like some backdrop paper or something like that. So it's like photography adjacent, but it's not directly connected to the camera. I often default to kind of like outdoorsy photography just because that's what I do. I don't have a photography studio. But some like good weatherproof socks, or a nice jacket, or anything that they can use while they are doing their photography. And the fourth and final thing to avoid is just tat. More of a UK Ireland expression. But what I mean is these like lens travel mugs, t-shirts that say like always taking photos. And you know what I mean? Every hobby has these kind of things where people really think that that's what you would like. I used to love playing guitar, but everyone would always get me like guitar-shaped pens that were too hard to write with, or necklaces that looked like a guitar, and stuff I wouldn't actually use for my hobby. Do you know, yeah, you can stick a few like badges and pins on your camera strap or whatever, but for me, getting something like this always thinks, oh, they don't actually know enough about my hobby to buy me something related to my hobby, but they want to be like, hey, you're a photographer, aren't you? And the travel mugs, like if you're going to spend €50 on a travel mug for a photographer, get them a really nice travel mug and not one that's really bad and leaks, but it looks like a lens. Just my 2 cents, but I think these things are just kind of, they're not great. No one who actually likes the hobby really enjoys them. And gift 5 is a bit of a cop-out, but 5 is really great for the title and the thumbnail, but it's buy a gift from your photographer. This time of year is often quite busy for photographers. There's all these markets happening, there's all these craft fairs happening, and so on and so on and so on, right? But if your photographer is producing calendars, buy a calendar from them. Getting business is quite hard, especially from family and friends. They feel that, not necessarily that they're entitled to free and reduced stuff, but it's kind of just the norm, right? Getting a few prints ordered that then you can hang in your house or that you can then gift to someone else. It's just really appreciated from those of us that actually do print their own photos and produce calendars and that sort of thing. So there we go. There's my list of 5 gift ideas for the photographer in your life and 4 things to avoid. What do you think? Do you agree with my choices? Is there a few things you think I missed out on? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like kind of photography style content, this is more for the people that are watching to buy gifts for themselves. But if you like photography style content, then consider subscribing. I try and make weekly videos about photography and the Micro Four Thirds system and old camera gear and that sort of stuff. So happy gift giving and cheers.